This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to all the enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Sean's still out driving that new generation Mustang. He'll be back on Thursday, so I'm filling in. Now to the news. Not only does China have the largest automotive market by far, it's taking over a good chunk of the rest of the world market. In 2020, China exported about 1 million vehicles. In 2021, that jumped to 2 million. Last year, it was 3 million, and this year it is on track to export 4 million. That also includes Tesla, which is the third largest exporter of new energy vehicles from China. Some of the biggest export markets include South America, Central America, Mexico, Australia, Europe, Saudi Arabia, India, Thailand, and Russia. In other words, just about everywhere except the United States. But we don't expect that to last long. With the price of an average car in the U.S. close to $50,000, that has opened the door for Chinese automakers to come on in and take over the entry-level part of the market. And did you know that BYD is now the top-selling car company in China? It's ahead of Volkswagen and Toyota, and it says it's going to triple its profits in the first half of this year to $1.6 billion. Not only does BYD sell more pure electric cars in China than Tesla does, several industry insiders tell Autoline that BYD is out-Tesla-ing Tesla. They point out it's more vertically integrated. It makes its own batteries and sells them to other automakers, including Tesla. It has a broader model lineup than Tesla does, and it gets its products to the market faster than it does. BYD now has a market cap of $103 billion. That's the third highest of any automaker in the world, only behind Tesla and Toyota. Keep an eye on BYD. It probably represents Tesla's biggest threat. Tesla, speaking of it, ran into an environmental buzzsaw when it built its assembly plant in Berlin, which delayed construction of the factory. Now it wants to expand that plant, but this time it's making sure that it's got public support on its side. So it's holding a public question and answer session with local citizens today. Environmental groups worry about the plant's water usage and its emissions because Tesla wants to double production at the site to 1 million vehicles a year. That would make it the largest car plant in Germany. It currently produces about 5,000 cars a week. And it's not just environmental groups that are scrutinizing the plant. German union IG Metall is calling for better staffing and working conditions because the plant currently employs around 11,000 workers. An IG Metall representative claims Tesla laid off hundreds of workers in June alone without reducing its weekly production target. You know, India seems to be on the cusp of turning into a pretty important automotive market. That's why EV startup Fisker is going to stick its toe in the market to test out how things might be there. It's going to produce 100 Ocean SUVs for India and launch them in the fourth quarter. It's calling the model the Ocean Extreme Vigyan Edition. That's because Vigyan is the company's Indian subsidiary. The EV is going to be priced just under 70,000 euros, or more than $78,000, which is about the same that it costs in Europe, but that does not include import taxes or other charges.
We want to know what drives your testing. OTA, connected car, diagnostics, remote testing. Intrepid Control Systems is here to help you work from anywhere. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
The Chevrolet Traverse just got a pretty significant update. It gets a new look both inside and out, and each of the 4 trim lines gets its own design accents. Speaking of the trim, a new, more off-road capable ZL1 version is available for the first time. Its ground clearance was raised by 1 inch. It comes with unique 18-inch tires. It has a better approach angle with an aluminum skid plate, and it's got its own unique dampers. All the models are powered by a new 2.5-liter turbocharged engine that's mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and all-wheel drive is optional. The setup produces 315 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque, according to GM estimates, which is more than the previous model. It's also available with GM Super Cruise. That's the hand-free driver assistance technology, which also includes trailering and automatic lane change capabilities. Other new features include a 17.7-inch touchscreen and more safety technology. The new Traverse goes on sale early next year, and that's when we'll learn how much they want to charge for it. But at the same time that GM is getting ready to launch the Traverse, it's struggling to ramp up production of its Ultium batteries. And because of that shortage, the company had to shut down production at its CAMI plant in Ontario, Canada, for all of this month. That's where GM builds its electric bright drop vans. The plant's union representative says there's a shortage of batteries because GM cannot get the raw materials it needs to make them. But the good news is demand for that van is really high. The CAMI plant has 4 years of back orders on the books. Magna is so certain that EVs are going to dominate global sales in the next 10 years that it's devoting 70% of its engineering efforts to make them. And it sees this happening from the smallest A-class cars to the largest pickups and SUVs. That includes four-wheel drive off-road vehicles. So it's developed front and rear electrified axles that can be dropped into existing vehicles, like the Jeep Gladiator, without any architectural modifications. The axles offer 150 kilowatts of continuous power and up to 200 kilowatts of peak power and an astonishing 7,000 newton meters of torque. Magna calls the package Intelligent Terrain. We got an opportunity to test drive it out at an off-road park near Detroit recently, including back-to-back drives of an electric Gladiator versus a standard ICE one. The electric was a lot easier to control, going up and down slick rock conditions with less wheel slip. And obviously, it was much, much quieter. In fact, we think that off-roaders and overlanders are going to love driving through the wilderness in electric 4x4s, listening to the sounds of nature as they go down the trail. Porsche publicly unveiled its Vision 357 Speedster at the Goodwood Festival of Speed that's going on this week. Pay attention here, because Porsche says it strongly hints at what the all-electric version of the 718 Boxster is going to look like when it hits the market in 2025. It gets two motors with a combined peak power of 1,058 horsepower and an estimated 0 to 60 kilometers an hour time of less than 3 seconds. The retro design kinda looks like a 356 bathtub speedster that was propelled 60 years into the future. And all we can say is that Porsche sure has a knack of making its current customers want to add another car to their collection. That brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for watching Autoline Daily.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. And by Scheffler, we pioneer motion.
At Scheffler, we pioneer motion. Electrifying mobility, manufacturing smarter, reducing CO2 emissions, making energy production clean. Scheffler pioneers motion to advance how the world moves.